Ladies and gentlemen, this is Colonel David Giamono on Frontline. And today we have Cynthia Garrett, a popular American television show host, executive producer, philanthropist, author, and overall smart lady. And is so glad, Cynthia, to have you on the show today with us.
I am happy to be here. I love being with you guys. You're fiery and ready for the battle. So that's good. I
We
like
really
that.
are. And we have Pastor Coco Perez from Horizon Church. Brother, it's always good to have you on the show.
Colonel, it's my honor all the time to be with you and whoever you have on your show. We're a team. We are a team.
Amen. And you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to Battle Ready Ministries on YouTube, watch us on Roku TV, and sign up for Battle Ready newsletter at battleready.org. Cynthia, in our first episode, and by the way, if you haven't seen part one, please go back and watch that after this because it is incredible. But Cynthia,
Yes.
We were talking about becoming battle ready and putting teams. And Pastor Coco, you had a great question that we want to start out with today.
Yeah, that last segment at the end, you were just fired up, Cynthia, preaching, and saying some awesome stuff about leadership and how women today need a leader and how do we get this started, this point person. The Bible talks about leadership. Jesus's form of leadership, of course, was servanthood and, washing feet. And it's not all about power and it's not all about pushing your agenda, but it's people that have this passion to lead the way. And I see that in your life. And so my question is, how does this new Christian women's leadership, going forward with the message of the gospel, how does this begin? Because I don't know of any woman per se, that has this mission to do this. And I kind of sense that from you as being a person that can really lead the way in this whole effort. What do you say about
Absolutely.
that?
Well, thank you for that, Pastor, and you too, Colonel. I honestly, I think if you look inside really your heart, as you sit with the Lord and you figure out, okay, God, where's the area of need? And you look at an area or a thing that you're passionate about. For me, I'm passionate about truth. I'm passionate about people not being in bondage to lies. And I don't like to see children abused. And so we've been on this progression in this nation where we're now at the abuse of children.
Right.
Yes,
at first it
definitely.
was the murder. It was the murder of children, and it was it was a little easy, I think, for many people to stick their head in the sand because it was just a few weeks pregnant or a few months along, and as the end goal or as the finish line kept getting stretched out more and more, and now we're at full birth abortions, and and then it's transgenderism and grooming our children in elementary schools, and trying to desensitize us all to everything. First it was nudity, then it was pornography, the big disease that has everyone today. 70% of Americans, and 68% of the church.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, so now we're at, let's take the word pedophile away and call these people MAPS, minor attracted persons. And there's this spiral of sin and darkness. And there's nothing that fires me up more than fighting against sin and darkness, because I know that it will be the undoing of man. It always is,
Right.
And so I'm passionate about that. And that riles me up. And I know that most women are passionate about young people, about their children, about their nieces and nephews, their grandchildren. And that ought to be enough, to get us to actually say, okay, if I have to come out of my comfort zone, if I have to give up the invites to maybe the nice gatherings that I want to get invited to because I'm the one that's going to bring the truth, and the truth is going to make everyone uncomfortable at the dinner table, then you've got to be willing to be that person. Like, what are you willing to do to be someone who fights and leads the room in the right direction? And so, we were talking about just why isn't it why are there no criminal proceedings against what's going on in our schools with our children? And I know, Pastor, you had mentioned, well, how do we start that up? That's a really good question. And it's a question I've been really thinking about the last 6 to 8 months. How do we actually organize, a group of people that will put the resources behind the legal resources to start prosecuting these cases across our nation one by one? You got a grown-up in a classroom reading a book about, the things that have been disguised as human sexuality classes today are just they're outrageous. They're outrageous. So what if these teachers lived with the threat of criminal prosecution for child abuse? You start teaching an underage minor some of this stuff. It's there are questions that children ask. You want to answer those questions. There are questions that children are not asking, and we are providing answers, and that's wrong. We've crossed the line. We've allowed a line to be crossed. Yes. Yeah. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's actually mentally damaging them to be given information they are not ready to process.
The power of suggestion.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Cynthia, I've seen several videos where parents, a lady or a man, will stand up in a board meeting at a school and read some of the things that they're teaching their children, and they're shut down. They don't want to hear that. Now, that's amazing to me. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah. I love the one pastor whose reply when they tried to shut him down was, "Oh, you don't want me to read this to you because it's awkward and uncomfortable, and it feels really disgusting in a room full of men and women. Yet you expect you're reading it to the children."
Right.
What are you doing to them? What are you doing to them? We're basically killing their conscience. We're making them have zero reaction to sexual perversion, to things that make them sexually uncomfortable. We're telling them it's normal. You shouldn't feel discomfort. You should just feel curiosity. Yet what does the Word of God say? We're not to be curious about evil. We're not to be curious about evil.
Wow. Cynthia, Pastor Coco mentioned something, and you just talked about it. How do we start? First of all, how do we get if ladies are watching this, and there'll be ladies watching this, how do they get a hold of you? Because you seem to be the general that's leading some of this charge. And how do they get connected with you or your organization, or how does that happen? We'll put that on the tracker on the bottom. How do we do that?
Thank you. Through cynthiagarrett.org. That's the easiest way. And you can email through the ministry website, or you can, Anna, my assistant ministry director, is always faithful to get emails. So, when people, especially from people that are saying, okay, I want to know how to help. I think resources are a huge part of this. I think, there are legal systems, legal aid clinics and what have you. And I know I've been really prayerful about talking to a couple of friends at an organization called the Pacific Justice Institute. They do a lot to, protect the rights of Christians. And I think this is a big no-brainer area that I have spoken to Brad Dacus about, hey, we need to talk about how do we actually, organize and go after these schools. I really think that people don't respond until you get them where their livelihood is. And we live in the Western world, their livelihood is money, right? So we've got to go after theirs and take ours elsewhere.
That's where I want to get to, Cynthia. Yeah. I want you to talk about that. Where should we put our money, and where should we not put our money right now? Tell us about organizations that should get it and those that should not get it.
Well, listen, there are two that I have really fallen in love with. One is Public Square. They're working on a lot right now so that the user experience is more streamlined and easier. But you got to check it out, and you have to sign up and you have to watch them and be with them as they grow. It's basically the Christian response to Amazon. So we can take our dollars and buy all those same products but most of them, they strive to have them American made, or they strive to make sure that whatever product they're selling is not linked to an organization that's supporting things that we don't agree with as Christians. The other one is Patriot Mobile. I mean, Patriot Mobile is amazing. And you know, if you send me an email at cynthiagarrett.org, I would love to be the one to walk you through signing up for Patriot Mobile, because it'll benefit also the ministry in that they're making big incentives to ministries. Like, hey, we're not asking you to help for free. We're saying help get people signed up, and we'll bless the ministry back with a piece of what they're signing up with. So they're cutting into their own profits. Patriot Mobile has all of the same cell towers and cell coverage that T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T has. It's just that your money with their service, which will cost you the exact same. They have the same plans. They have the same everything. There's nothing about it that is different for you, the actual user. Because I know I asked all these hard questions, you know. The only thing that's different is that they will never support anything that is anti-Christian or anti the belief systems that we have. It's pretty amazing. Public Square even only sells diapers. Did you know that the sales of diapers, a lot of the sales of diapers in the secular system we're in, the profits go to support abortion?
What?
How about that?
I did
Have
not
a baby,
know that.
kill a baby. Yeah. There's so much backdoor stuff that is going on that we need to be aware of as Christians. And I'll tell you, you start getting aware of it when you start investigating these other platforms, because they make the information available. You need to know this stuff because this stuff is important.
Wow.
We need to take our money elsewhere, period.
Where should we not shop, Cynthia? Where should we not shop?
Well, look, I mean, for Christians who have an unlimited amount of resources, please never shop at Balenciaga again, for Pete's sake. I mean, after their ad campaign using little pictures of children in sexual bondage positions, I don't think we should ever support that brand again, ever. By the way, I think Budweiser is a no-brainer. What they did with the listen, I mean, this is a beer that's been associated with men and macho for as long as I can remember. Who thought that was a good idea? Well, I'll tell you, some woke young girl in a conference room, and the owners of a lot of these companies, they happen to be Christians, but they've just gotten so far away from keeping their finger on the pulse of culture, right, that they don't understand what's going on right underneath their very own noses. And I think it's up to us to force them to pay attention. How do we do that? We don't buy their product. We let the numbers show, you know, in their stock and in their bottom line. Target.
What about
listen?
Yeah, Target. I was just going to mention Target and Disney. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I think if you can't figure out where to buy everything that Target sells somewhere else, then you're not looking. Because I've already figured it out. I'm not walking into a Target until there's a blanket apology to Christians. You know, I mean, in transgender onesies. This is the sick agenda of grown-ups. An infant doesn't know what it has on its body. An infant just wants milk from mom. So what are we doing? Why would we support that? I think that we've got to make them hurt. We got to make them hurt, and people hurt in their pocketbook.
That is such a good point you just made. The child does not know what they're doing. This is an adult thing. That is so true right there. Yeah. You hit it right on the head.
Yes. I mean, you know, even a third grader, you know, sitting there being subjected to reading one of these books about how to transition his sex or her sex. They don't know what's going on. Now what's happening is you got all these kids who just want attention. So if they can't get attention, maybe I'll have pronouns. Or maybe I'll say I want to change my agenda. Right. That's getting attention. But children change their minds the way we have to change, you know, diapers on an infant. Why we can't empower them to be making decisions that in a moment that affect the rest of their lives. And I think Cynthia, parents will allow that.
We're going to do a
Bad.
deep dive now. We had Eric Metaxas on the show a while back.
Oh, I love
he was
Eric.
talking about his he was talking about his book, and he talked about Nazi Germany, and he talked about the church saying nothing about to Adolf Hitler or to the Nazis. In fact, they embraced that. And so what we have today is, I'm just thinking as you're talking, what is the church, Pastor Coco, Cynthia, what's the church doing? Why are they not standing up? Why do we have to do it on a TV show? It should be in our pulpits. Cynthia, your views on that.
We're not standing up because the church and most and church leaders, they've sold out to the same almighty dollar that everyone else is. I mean,
Wow.
they don't want to make young people uncomfortable by confronting them with the truth of purity and premarital sex and what fornication is, because if they're uncomfortable, they won't come to church. They don't want to make anybody uncomfortable, because then you won't have butts and seats. So I think the church is delivering this beautiful little Diet Coke message about Jesus, and they're not actually talking about what Jesus would do right now today if he were here, in terms of what he would be dealing with in culture. We have to love people, but love, we'd even water down in the church what love is. But I mean, it's like this excuse to not, it's not about judgment, but you got to call the facts as they are. You have to speak the truth in love. But if you speak the truth, you might not get the money you want. You might not get the invites you want. You might get outed politically, and you don't want that. And it's, listen, a lot of church leaders, I think, they're so compromised that they go along with compromise because they don't want to get called out on their own compromise. I think it's really, if God hasn't shown me anything, he has shown me running through the church and waking up the church, shaking the church and saying, you have to wake up. We possess the keys to freedom. We possess the keys to the kingdom. We're numbed. We're like standing there numb and not realizing that people are going to hell. I mean, listen, everybody ought to read Charles Finney's Lessons in Revival. Finney called it. Yeah. Like, how can you say you love your fellow man and watch him go to hell and say nothing? The church is being the church's silence is its complicitness in all of this.
Wow, Pastor.
Well, what Sunday do you have open, Cynthia? You can come on down to. You can come up here to Northern California, Sacramento, and you have a place. You have a place. Listen, I got to tell you that we can't talk around truth anymore. We have to speak truth. That's the problem with most pulpits today, is they're talking around truth and they're not hitting truth squarely at the target. Remember the word for sin, right? It's that dot in the center of the bullseye. It's missing the mark, and the mark that we miss is trying to circle around the truth and not hitting the truth about sin, about culture, about all of this stuff that's just perverse in our society. And so, I could every time you talk, I'm just getting this feeling in me that, wow, that person that needs to really be at the point of this. And I have never said this on a program before, and I know Colonel feels it as well, is somebody like you, if not you, because somebody's got to galvanize this message with individuals, and I got a name for the ministry already, Mama Bear Ministry, right?
No.
Mama Bear.
No,
Mama Bear. You're a Mama Bear, I can tell.
Yes, I am. Oh, I say that all the time. All the time. I always say, it's a good thing that my son he's 31 today. He doesn't have children yet. So it's a good thing that I'm not yet a grandmother and he's not in school anymore, because I would be in prison. My nickname growing up, my mother used to call me Norma Ray. It's just like, oh my gosh, give this one a cause. And boy, oh boy. But it's true. We've never been asked to die for the truth. The apostles had to die for the truth. Right?
Yes.
All we're asked to do is, hey, don't shop over there. Hey, speak up when you see that things are wrong. Hey, be bold about your faith in a system that's trying to silence you about your faith, and it's killing people. We've yet been asked we've not yet been asked to die for the truth. I think if we remain silent, we will be asked to die for the truth. Period.
I had an experience the other day, if I may, Colonel. I was at a supermarket and I was in line waiting, and the young lady behind the counter there, she was busy talking to her coworker who was a bagger. It was Black Hispanic young ladies, and they were talking out loud about how crazy the world is today. And it was like it didn't dawn on them that there were like 5 people in line listening to them. And, and the one Black lady behind the counter at the register there, she started saying, all this madness about transgender this and transgender this. What is this world coming to? And I was just laughing inside because there are a lot of women right now in our world, I believe this, that are ready to be led. They're ready to say, come on, let's do something about this.
Well, I'm willing. God knows I'm willing. Lord knows I'm willing, because I don't feel, I look at compromise in the church and it makes me laugh, because I think, well, now hold on a second. I left the secular world because I really wanted to be able to speak freely, right? So I leave the secular system of television so that I can speak freely. And in that system, there's a lot of money to be made. And here we are, we're in a system that allows us to speak freely. It's something that people died for, this right to speak freely. Now, there may not be the billions of dollars to be made. So why are we compromising? Like, what are we doing? When I meet leaders that are not like you gentlemen, and I smell it on them, I smell the compromise. You can walk into a church and I smell that the whole woke church agenda is crazy to me. You smell the compromise, you smell the kowtowing to culture, you smell them. Pastors who are, yes, we welcome gays and transgenders into church. Jesus Christ is the great physician. That's where you go to get healed. And it's the Holy Spirit's job to convict the world of sin. Great. But it is not my job in welcoming you into that to tell you that you're right.
Right. We're not here to affirm their lifestyle. Right.
I'm not going to marry you or support you while you change your sex. No, I'm going to get in front of the wall that you're about to run into and say, you're about to mutilate yourself. You can't do that. I love you. Just let me love you for a year. And then if you still want to mutilate yourself, fine. But please don't do that. You can't go back from that. They're not telling you the truth about that. The medical facts of what is happening. These people are dying sooner. They're crippled within 5 to 10 years. Like you can't do this kind of thing to your body, perfectly created in this perfect environment by God. You think you can alter that and not come out dead? You think Satan wants you to come out more alive, more authentic? Come on. We know the truth.
We have a few minutes left. In that few minutes, I want you to talk to those who are watching and tell them what should they be doing right now. If they've listened to this show and maybe the first show as well, what kinds of things should they ought to be doing? We've heard you say prayer and reading the Bible and those kinds of things, and please talk about that. But what other things should they be doing as well in these end times? Because if we don't do something, we're going to lose everything. So please share from your heart, what should we be doing?
Well, I think the first thing you want to do, even right now, that the Colonel has really put this question out there, is stop and pray and ask the Lord, hey, Father, what should I be doing? Now, I believe he's going to give you some stuff. And then I'm also going to give you some stuff that I find practical that you could do. Start to show up at school board meetings in your community. It doesn't matter that you have children there or not. You're a member of the community. Your tax dollars support the schools in your district. You can find this information out online. Hey, when's the next school board meeting? When is this? Start to show up with your phone The iPhone did a whole lot to change the planet when George Floyd was, succumbed on camera. Show up with your iPhone and start recording what's going on in these school board meetings. And it's very simple to start uploading it online and getting this stuff out there viral so the whole world can have a window into our school board, right? Into these school board meetings and into what the school unions are talking about. The other thing you can do is understand that as a grandmother, as a woman with no children, and as a mother whose kids are grown, you are the most powerful weapon in this army because you've got time for the fight. And you can find out the dates, run for local office, run for your local school board, get yourself as a believer into these positions to start implementing and changing and affecting policy. We've got to start to get vocal about our pushback. Don't think that since you're a woman or I'm just a little old grandma, that you are the most powerful weapon in the Lord's hand if you allow yourself to be weaponized.
Be weaponized. Thank you, Cynthia. And we're definitely going to have you come back. We've run out of time, but wow, so many good things during this last 2 shows that we talked about. So thankful for your ministry and for what you're doing for empowering women and empowering all of us, really. And thank you. And we're going to pray that the Lord empower you as you go on to be that general. You are the general. God has empowered you to do that. And we thank God for you. So thanks for coming on the show today and sharing your heart, your life, your ministry, and your time. God bless you. Thank you so much. And for the rest of you, I only have one question. Are you battle ready?
Giamona and Anderson have done it again. They have put together a masterpiece that will inform, enlighten, and challenge your beliefs regarding deception in the end times. This is a must-have book that will guide through the maze of deceit that has blinded the world and confused the church. Dr. Thomas R. Horn, founder and CEO of Skywatch TV.